Hey guys, welcome back to the Poker Vlog, episode 7. We're going back down to Dookie Betts' place. A lot of fun hands, a lot of action. So we'll get right into it after I say thank you guys so much for 100 subscribers. We're up around 125 actually at the time of this recording, hopefully more by the time the video comes out. And I really appreciate all your guys' support. You guys are the best. Also, since our last episode, we finished up our 30-day profit challenge. I won't give anything away, so I'll link it in the description. You guys can go check that series out as well. All right, let's get into it. The very first hand of the night that we pick up is a suited ace-9 of spades in middle position. There's a $2 straddle. We're playing $1, $1 with a $2 straddle on. We raise it up to $6. The cutoff is going to come along, and when it gets back over to the big blind, he has a pretty clear squeeze opportunity, and he's going to take it. He bumps it up to $22. It's a little bit small. I like going 3x plus the dead money. So he's a little bit short of that. And we have a suited ace in position. We're going to make the call. Cutoff folds, and we'll go heads up to a flop. I'm really excited to show you guys this next part. We've been working hard on some brand new graphics for you guys. They're coming up on your screen right about now. Check those out. They look pretty sweet, as does this flop. It comes king, 4, 8 with 2 spades. We have the nut flush draw and an overcard. Big blind continues for $25 on this board. I expect him to do that a lot. We consider raising, but decided to just play a call. So we're still heads up to a turn, about 100 in the middle, which comes to 10 of clubs. Big blind does not slow down. He continues for 40% pot. He has enough behind where I think we have some fold equity, and we have a pretty strong draw, but we don't want to check fold rivers. I think we might be able to generate fold from hands that we're losing to, like ace queen or ace jack, that have chosen to double barrel, and we have no pair, but a pretty strong draw. We're going to try and win it now. So we're going to reach down into our chip stack and move all in for $141 effective. We get virtually snapped off, and he shows us aces. It's looking pretty grim here. G-R-I-M-M. We're going to flip over the ace of spades, tell him what he has to fade. It's not looking good for us, but there's always the river. Here it comes. Yeah, we break it. It's a 6 of diamonds, and we're going to lose $200 pot to start the session. Chips! We top up and we get a seat change to get a better angle for you guys. We're in the $2 straddle. We peel ace king offsuit. Very good hand. There's a hijack limp. Cutoff also limps. It's going to fold back around to the big blind, who's Dookie Betts in this hand. It's always nice to play on his left. He completes. We have a pretty standard squeeze spot here with ace king. We go a little large. We make it 20. I usually like to go 3x plus the dead money, so 2 times 3, 6, plus the $5 of dead money would give us 11, but we squeeze to 20. I don't think it could be bad to put more money in when you have strong hands, so we make it a little bit larger. Cutoff is going to limp call. Don't expect him to have anything stronger than our hand, other than maybe a small pocket pair. But we go heads up to a flop. And we miss the flop completely. It comes 10, 8, 6, rainbow. With no draws, just 2 overcards. We're going to continue for small. I don't think I get to bet big on this board. If I do choose to bet, I think checking is fine, but against this player, he likes to put money in, so fine to bet. And especially, we're going to be fine to bet on this turn card when we bink off the ace of spades. We go for 25. Kind of a small bet, but was trying to set up a 1-to-1 river jam with a geometric sizing on this turn. So you can see him counting out chips at the top of the screen there. That's because I asked him how much he has behind. I think my turn sizing is a little bit too small because he actually tells me that he has slightly more than a pot size bet. I don't want to scare him off if he has a weaker ace that can call. So we go for the 65% pot bet. He's going to think about it for a little bit. Pretty quickly call. We turn over the ace king, and we're good actually against ace queen, so a little bit of a cooler. Not sure why he chose to limp the cutoff with ace queen there, but we'll take it down. In real time, I was upset I didn't go for it all. for a slight overbet shove. I think I would have gotten paid off, but can't be too mad when we're scooping a pot. Our next hand, we look down at another suited ace-9, this time with a diamond variety. Hopefully it'll work out a little bit better than the last time we had ace-9 suited. There's a low jack raise to 3. We decide to 3-bet to 11 here. I think calling in position is totally fine too, but we're looking to isolate and play bigger pots in position when we can. Also wouldn't mind taking it down here, but low jack, whose dookie bets in this hand, is going to call. We go heads up to a flop with 24 in the middle. Comes out all low cards, 4-4 deuce. He checks it over to me. I think you can mix between a small bet here or a check, but this board doesn't really hit my 3-bet range. And even though I'm checking, I can still retain all the overpairs. So I check it back. Turn's a good one. Brings in our flush draw. We still have the over card with the ace. So I decide I'm going to bet it when check 2 here. We go actually fairly large. We go for $16 into 24. And Dookie thinks about it for a little bit before he flicks in the call, deciding that we're going to bluff a lot of rivers, but this one is not one we have to bluff anymore. It's the ace of clubs. When he checks this river, we're going to go for about a half pot bet sizing, targeting Jack X or some non-believing lower pairs like 7s through 10s. So I don't think you have to go super big. My line doesn't make a ton of sense here, so not surprised that after a while, he's going to reach into his chip stack. And flicking the call, we turn over the ace-9, and we get to look up at him and use his favorite line and say,
"Gotcha."
Sorry. I called you real long.
Yeah, I bet.
Took a weird line there, but it paid off, and we'll take it. All right, for this next hand, there's a middle position raise to $3. We are on the button, our favorite position. It's going to fold around to us, and we're going to bump it up to $10 with a mystery hand. You don't have to wait too long. We peel pocket 9s, 9 of hearts, 9 of spades. There's a big blind cold call, which is a little fishy, and the middle position player is going to put in the money as well. We're going to go 3 ways to a flop. Flop comes out decent for our hand. It comes 5, 5, 10. So my plan is to probably c-bet here for about $10 with a third pot, but we don't get the chance, and the big blind leads out for $20. To be honest, guys, this hand isn't super interesting, but I put this in here to show you guys how important hand reading is. Because listen to what I say.
Am I a nit?
No. You're not.
This is never not better than this. You know what I mean? It just never is.
Dookie Bets and I laugh about the idea of me being a nit. I fold, and then I say this.
Bluff.
You call it jacks, right?
Overpair? Only you can love. Take peek. He was in the head too. You can tell. You can tell. Okay.
I'm the best.
We lose the hand, but good to know that we know where we're at.
It's just so sick that you have jacks there, and I know you have jacks there. Oh my god.
As we just come off the back of calling out our opponent's hand, the very next shuffle we get dealt that exact hand, this time in the red variety. We're in the cutoff. We raise it up to $4. The button is going to call. It's going to fold back around to the big blind, who will also put in the call. We go 3 ways to a flop with pocket jacks, which comes pretty favorable for 2 red jacks. It is 5, 7, 8 with a flush draw. Checks to us. We have an overpair. We unblock all the flush draws. We're going to go ahead and bet here. We size fairly large for $10. Trying to charge 6x and flush draws. Button calls. And now the big blind is going to wake up and put in the check raise up to $30. The pure 3x check raise, maybe a little bit small once the button calls. I don't really want to get it in here, raise and get it in against a hand like ace-6 of clubs. That is a big combo draw that I'm flipping with. Also, the big blind can have a bunch of sets. So I do think it's a little too nitty to fold jacks here, but the hand does get a little bit creepy with the button in here. But as played, I decide to stick in the call. And it doesn't take too long before the button is also going to stick in the call as well. So really weird to go multi-way to a turn, especially when multiple bets have been put in. Turn's the king of spades. It's an overcard to our jacks, but as played, I don't know how much king X players are going to have other than king X of clubs. Big blind checks. With that being said, I still would like to get showdown as cheaply as possible, so I check as well. Button is not going to check. He bets 35, fairly small. He only has about 45 left behind. So a little bit strange. But what might be even more strange is when the big blind is going to think for a while and he actually ends up folding. So I'm not quite sure what to make of this. I do think, in hindsight, the button probably checks back a lot of his flush draws to realize his equity. But if he has a combo draw like ace-6 of clubs or something like that, I'd like to make him pay the maximum to draw. So that's what I decided to do. We get a count of his stack. He's got about 80 total, so we put it in. He snap calls, so that's not great. We think we're pretty much smoked here. We're flipping at best. He rolls over pocket 5, so we have 2 outs. Not ideal. River's going to come out. Complete brick. It's a 9 of diamonds, and we're going to lose $250 pot. So, in hindsight, don't really love my turn play. And we stack off with jacks there. Sorry, Mom. Alright, moving right along. The next hand, we're going to pick up 9-8 suited of the diamond variety and the cutoff. Love to play suited connectors, especially in position. So when there's a hijack raise, we're going to bump it up to $10 to try and play a bigger pot in position. Heads up. These hands also play well multi-way, so you don't always need to 3-bet. You can mix here. I like to be a little bit more aggressive when I play, so we mix a 3-bet here. And something unexpected actually happens. The button is going to cold 4-bet. So that's pretty strong. He made it very small. Just min clicked up to $20. So when the hijack folds, I think I'm getting a good enough price with this hand that can flop well in many different ways. Especially I think I'm going to be playing against a very condensed range of aces, kings, ace-kings, queens. Those sorts of hands, which my hand performs well against. It especially performs well when the flop is 4, 5, 6 with 2 diamonds. We flop a gutter ball with the flush draw. We check it in flow. The button's going to go for a bet of $20. Here, I'm just thinking about maybe raising, but decide to play it a little slower with my big draw and just call. I don't think he'll be folding over pairs, so hoping to hit our hand, which we do right away on the turn. There's no waiting. The 7 of diamonds comes in. An offsuit 7 might have been better, but brings a 4-liner out there and the flush. He checks it back. The river is a pretty good card. It's not another diamond, so don't have to worry about bigger flushes too much. So we feel comfortable enough to go for the overbet. We go for 100 into 85 here. Gonna polarize. He's thinking for a little bit. When he thinks, we know we're good, hoping for a call. And eventually, he's gonna stick it in.
I'm pretty sure nobody has... Oh, you do have an 8.
His aces, right? Yeah. Thought so.
You can hear me call out my opponent's hand. Here's one of the advantages of playing against a condensed range, is you can put them in tough spots. Alright, we just showed you a hand of how easy it is to play against a condensed 4-bet range with no bluffs in it. So, let's see if we can be more mindful about that when we play. Under the gun raises to 5. A hijack, spoiler alert, is cutting out a 3-bet up to $17, and I think this is a pretty good hand to try and balance our 4-bet range with. Need to have some bluffs in every line we take, so we think these baby suited aces, ace 5 suited being the most preferred one, but if you squint, ace 4 suited looks about the same, so we go for the 4-bet up to 55. We chose this sizing because the hijack was deeper than the other gun player, so our plan is to call off a jam from the end of the gun player and to fold to a rejam from the hijack. Ideally, we just take it down. That's not what happens. Under the gun sticks it in, and we put the money in. He tells us that he has kings, so we kind of run into it here, but our ace is live, so still have to C5. We're running it once, and we get rewarded for balancing our 4-bet range when the window card is the ace of spades. Runout's going to come clean. We turn it over. We're going to scoop a pretty nice pot here. Of course, we get super lucky, but it is important. Wanted to show you guys how important it is to try and balance your 4-bet range. Hopefully next time we have it, we would get called a little bit lighter. Have to stay balanced in games that you play in a lot so you can become less predictable. For this next hand, there's an under the gun straddle onto $2. We are in middle position in the double straddle for 5. Cutoff is going to make it 15. Button and the small blind are both going to release their cards back onto the big blind, who's going to call the cutoff open to 15. The initial straddler is going to get out of the way, and this is a really good squeeze spot. A lot of dead money out there, so we're going to squeeze it up, and I think we can do this probably with any 2 cards and expect it to work at a reasonably high frequency. So we actually go big to 75, but now is where we find out that we don't just have any 2 cards. We have black kings in the double straddle. The poker gods reward those who straddle. It's back on the cutoff now, and here's where our 4-bet bluff in the previous hand is really going to pay off, because the big blind is going to snap, stick it in. We call, and he says,
"You're good."
Probably.
We get the snap, "You're good" from him. He shows us black deuces. He gets a little bit out of line because he thinks that we might be. So let's go to a run out. Flop is very clean, as is the turn and river. We're going to scoop a huge pot here, all thanks to us balancing our 4-bet bluff range in the last hand, causing our opponent to get a little bit out of line. So you have to be balanced, guys. Sometimes people will just punt off their stacks to you. We pick this next hand up midway through. We are in the under the gun $2 straddle. There's a hijack open to $8. The big blind calls, and we will also call with king 3 of hearts. 3 ways to a flop, which is pretty favorable for us. We flop a flush draw on an ace high board. We'd prefer that the ace were the ace of hearts so we could have a draw to the nuts, but still, king high flush draw, not too bad on this board. Big blind checks. We check it over to the aggressor pre-flop, and he continues for $20 into 26. Pretty big bet. Big blind calls. We could raise here, but I don't think we're getting better to fold, so we're just going to call. Turn is a 6 of clubs. Since the hijack went so big on the flop, I don't think he'd do that with jacks, queens, kings, so maybe he's weighted heavier towards ace X, which I expect to bet the turn, and we'll probably just fold when the board pairs because we could be drawing dead, but as played, it checks through, and we make our flush on the river with the 8 of hearts. Not too shabby. When it checks to us, we're going to go for a bet. We won't love being raised because aces full will play this exact line from him, I think. So we're going to go for 60 and fold to a raise. When the button starts thinking for this long, I've sped it up obviously for the video for you guys, but when he thinks this long in real time, I'm thinking he might have a hand like jacks, queens, or kings that kind of just misclicked and made too big of a bet on the flop. So I don't love my sizing if I'm trying to target jacks, queens, kings, because I think that they would need a much smaller sizing to call. But I think a hand like ace, king, ace, queen can call this big size. However, I don't expect those hands to be checking the turn so often, so I think smaller is the way to go. As played, I go for 60, and we do get a call after a long while. We know we're good. We flip over the king high flush, and he mucks his cards. He would later tell us that he had ace, king. If he bets the turn, he just wins the pot, but as played, we're going to scoop a pot worth just over $200. We love when that happens. that's our last real strategy, normal land, poker hand of the night. But I got one more hand to show you with the 7 deuce offsuit. A lot of you guys might be wondering, how come I'm showing you a hand where I have the worst one in poker? Well, that's because we're playing the 7 deuce game. For those of you who don't know, when this game is on, if anybody at the table wins with 7 deuce, every other player has to pay them a bounty. For this game, I believe it was $2. So after we see a middle position limp and a button raise, we feel like this could be a decent spot for us to get involved with the 7 deuce here. Trying to give action, trying to get after that bounty. We 3-bet up to $20. I think this is too small, but I was 3-betting a lot, so he's not going to give me credit anyways if I go larger. So maybe trying to save myself some money there. Not the best, but we go heads up to a flop with the button. Comes ace 10-4. Decent for our 3-bet range. I think this is going to be a pretty wide configuration. Button on big blind. But we're going to continue for half pot. I don't think you have to go super large. Even though you're laying your opponent poor pot odds, sometimes it looks bluffier and people will call a little bit lighter. That's definitely not what we want. Obviously, we have 7 high, so hoping this goes bet fold. But I don't expect that to happen very often. I'm going to be c-betting this board a lot, and he knows that. So I do expect to have to double and maybe triple barrel this hand to win. He is thinking for a long time, which is good. It doesn't seem like he's contemplating a raise, so when he calls, we think a big bet on the turn should do it. And the turn is a pretty good card to barrel. It's the king of spades. Since we didn't bet super big on the flop, we can retain hands like queen jack suited, pocket kings, king queen, those types of hands that will still want to bet this turn. Rather, if we go polar on the flop, I don't know how often we get to bet this with hands that aren't ace king or tens or aces, things like that. But we put the bet in, he folds pretty quickly.
Listen to this.
Anybody want to buy at a 7 deuce?
What does that mean?
You give me $1, so you don't have to give me 2 if I flip over 7 deuce?
No.
Okay, give me 2.
We win a decent sized pot. Plus, we're going to get the bounties from everybody at the table. So, don't always recommend getting involved with the 7 deuce, but it works out for us this time. And we're going to tell the vlog something you know.
I'm not a nit, vlog. I'm not a nit.
You guys already knew that. But with that, it's the last interesting hand that we play tonight. All right, back at Dookie Betts' place. This is where the magic happens. In for way too much, out for significantly more this time. So that's really great. Thanks again to this guy for hosting. Go like, subscribe to his channel, all that good stuff. And go look at the table, guys.